started to kind of make up my own rules. So fast forward, I paid off $60,000 of debt. We paid for our wedding. And by the time I was 26, I saved over 100K.
Hello, Empower Nation. Welcome to Empower Her Money podcast. I am your host, Angela Duncan, #1 financial coach for female entrepreneurs looking to master their money. I'm excited for today's episode. We're going to switch gears a little bit and focus more on personal finances. I have money coach Mariah on today as my guest. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome. So, Mariah, I would love for you to start with your story, kind of where you came from and how did you get to teaching other people about, their money. Talk about what your journey looks like.
Yeah, so my journey started back after I got out of college. I started working in a corporate job, and the more money I was making, I just kind of noticed I had more and more debt, kind of along with the income increase. And what I was also noticing is that I was making more money, but I was also spending more money. And it just started to kind of feel like a cycle of I'm making more money, spending more money, I have more debt. And I just kind of took a pause because money was starting to feel like something that was a little uncomfortable for me. I wasn't very happy with my financial situation. And I started dating my now husband, and he had like no debt, no student loans. So I was like, okay, I think I need to like take a look at this because it doesn't have to feel this way. And so that kind of started me down this journey of let me pay off my debt, let me save. We knew we wanted to get married, so there was some big goals coming up, and I started on the journey of paying off $60,000 of debt. And I found myself like Googling and trying to find podcasts about money. And I kept coming across a lot of men talking about money and their philosophies around like paying off debt and things. And I did follow those for a while, but the more I followed different people, I really wanted to do it differently for myself. So, what I mean by that is I didn't want to necessarily like rush to pay my debt off and kind of not spend any money, not enjoy myself in the meantime. I was like, no, I want to still vacation and like get Starbucks and pay my debt off. So, the more I worked on paying off my debt, I started to just kind of work on my relationship with money, which for me meant instead of kind of guilting myself or feeling like there was a certain way that I should do things with money just based on someone else's rule book, I started to kind of make up my own rules. So fast forward, I paid off $60,000 of debt. We paid for our wedding. And by the time I was 26, I saved over 100K. And yeah, a few years ago, I transitioned out of my corporate job into my business full time. And I've been helping other people to save six figures while spending money with confidence. And that's kind of how I got here.
Awesome. I love that. How, you're being very vulnerable and honest that you had debt and you thought there's got to be a different way. And oftentimes our mindset comes from either our childhood or something that we learned early on. And I
Mm.
will tell you, like, I'm a Starbucks person and I like shoes. And so I think I personally struggle with that too, because, I will go and want to buy a pair of shoes, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, I could be giving this money to my church. So there's always that balance with the mindset. So
Mhm.
talk a little bit more about that. You kind of touched on that topic about spending with confidence. What does that
Mhm.
mean, and how do you kind of apply that?
Yeah. So I think it really starts with learning how to trust yourself. And at least that's what it was for me, is trusting that the way that I want to spend my money can be right for me and maybe not be what someone else would do with their money, right? Like that personal finance is unique to every single person, and there's not like a cookie cutter right or wrong. Like it was really about finding balance and looking at, okay, what do I want my day to day life to feel like and look like with money? But also, what do I want life to look like a year from now, 5 years from now, 85 years from now? And really finding a balance in both. And this is what I see a lot with clients is they come to me and they're like, I really want to save up for a house. I really want to save for my kids' college. And they're just so laser focused on these long-term goals that day to day, they're not really able to follow the plan in a way that feels good because they didn't consider like the version of them today that has to like live the plan. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome too. And kind of using that visualization, like what does my life look like for
Mhm.
me? I'm a Dave Ramsey certified coach and I did that for a long time. But I learned, similar to what you're saying, is no one plan fits all. So
Mhm.
having that confidence in yourself, knowing that this is what my money plan looks like. I love that
Mhm.
about your personal finances, and even in business, it's spending the way that you want to live and not necessarily how other people live, and being okay with that. So
Mhm.
I really love that. So then talk about the saving part of it, because, there's always that balance of whether you're an employee or you have your own business, you've got your income coming in and you have your expenses and you want to have future goals. Like, talk about that savings aspect of your personal financial plan.
Yeah. So one of my philosophies, it's a little controversial, so are you ready? Is all savings is meant to be spent. Okay.
Mm,
And what I hear a lot from clients is like, like clients will come to me with savings and they're like, no, I can't spend that. It's my savings. And I'm like, your savings is meant to be spent, whether that's when you retire to support your lifestyle or to pass down to your children, or it's to save up money and buy an investment property or buy your first home. Regardless, the savings is there to be spent. So for example, our AC broke like a couple weeks ago in Florida, super hot. It was $8,000. We had 8,000 saved, but we spent it, right? So all savings is meant to be spent. That's the first mindset shift that I want everyone to consider, because what happens when you're thinking, okay, I'm saving this to be spent later, it kind of helps us to think about, this is not just money that I'm sitting in a bank account to collect dust. It has a purpose, it has value, it's going to be exciting or helpful later. And it kind of grounds us in why we're saving in the first place.
mm. I like that a lot. So it's still controlling your money, telling it what to do. And I've heard a saying before where people will say, like, saving for a rainy day. Well, when you save for a rainy day, it's going to come. So know
Mm.
that it's okay to spend that savings. And then
Mhm.
obviously you're going to replenish it, put money back in for whatever the purpose is for that money.
Yeah.
But I like that mindset shift about, it's not just there to sit forever, but it's got a
Mhm.
purpose and it's okay.
Yes.
Like, give it a purpose, save it for a purpose. It's part of your goal plans. And then knowing goes back to your confidence, right? So knowing that you have the confidence that the money's there if you need it, but at the same time, be okay with spending it.
Yes. Yeah, because if you have money in savings, but it feels really uncomfortable or wrong or bad to spend it, it's like we want to like take ownership that you saved that money. It's your money to spend. And it's the same in business, right? Whether you're saving in your business for future investments or taxes, like that money is still there being saved so that you can spend it later with confidence.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So what kind of typical money mistakes or money mindset mistakes do you see when your clients are hiring you?
Mm. I would say money mindset is is how do I want to word this? Defining your worth or your skill level based on like arbitrary number, like money things. So for example, like I've heard people say, like I should have my debt paid off. I should have more saved. I should, right?
Mhm.
Like shoulding yourself essentially, right? Like that mindset of like, I should be further along, I should be more responsible is only going to slow you down because it doesn't feel good. And if we're feeling uninspired or disempowered about money, it's going to be really hard to want to like sit down with money and be intimate with it. You're not going to feel as confident with it. So I would just say that if you're out there and you catch yourself saying like, I've never been good at math, or I'm not good with numbers, or I should have more saved, I want you to pause and think about, what is one thing that you've accomplished with money so far? What are the ways that you've been good with money? What are the ways that you've made improvements? There's nothing too big or too small. And really starting to kind of shift the relationship that you're having with money. I always give the example, if you're like married to somebody and your thought is like, I'm really bad at marriage, I really don't like you, I don't want to look at you, it's not going to be a very good foundation for the relationship. So it's the same with money. If you're like, I don't want to look at you, I don't want to think about you, I don't want to whatever with you, like we're going to not be in relationship with money. So we want to really think about money as like we're building a relationship. It's safe to be intimate with money and get to know it, and taking, that empowered approach.
Yeah, I like that. So taking the pressure off yourself for where you're at right now and celebrating the wins that you have, and
Mm.
kind of shifting that to more a positive outlook to money. So I love that. That's great information and great advice. So when you first start working with a client, what are some action items you encourage them to kind of take right away when it comes to their money?
Yeah. So something that everyone out there can actually implement even on their own, but something that I always start with clients is like, let's celebrate the money wins that you've had so far. And what I really love to do, this is like an activity that you guys can all try, is like think about 5 or 10 money goals that you've had in the past that you've already achieved. Because we all have a goal and then we achieve it, and then naturally we want to set the next goal. So even if it's like in business, like your goal, like make your first sale or have your first like $5,000, $10,000 month, right? And then we hit that and we focus on the next goal. So really spending time in like, what is the progress that you've already made with money? Because what we're doing is we're creating a foundation for you to start feeling more confident with money.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't think about that. Like I got a job. That's an accomplishment. I bought a
Mm-hmm.
car. That's an accomplishment.
Mm.
I
Mm-hmm.
opened a bank account, like, just simple things like that
Yeah.
that they can think about and be more positive and happy that they've accomplished something.
Yeah, 100%. Even like, for example, like I had a client telling me like that she really wanted to go to Starbucks, and she's like she mindfully intentionally chose not to go, not because she couldn't, but because she was like, you know what? Like I told myself I wasn't going to go. And that's still like a money win because
Mm,
she was able to put that money somewhere else. And I'm not saying don't go to Starbucks. I'm all for Starbucks, but it's really whatever is a win for you.
right. So saying no can be a win as well.
Yeah. Or saying yes to yourself too,
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
guilt. Like I bought this and I didn't feel guilty. That's a win.
Yes. That's me in shoes.
I love it. I love
Awesome. Awesome.
it.
So I have a fun question for you.
Yeah.
If you could pick a super talent or superpower, what would you pick and why?
Mm. I'd pick a superpower and it would be to fly, because I'm not a big fan of traffic and I'm not a big fan of like airplanes. So I would just like to fly wherever I need to go. That would be great.
Yeah. So
That's
is
my
that like in
superpower.
a teleportation way, or like you want to be a bird and flying?
Mm. That's a good question. I feel like it'd be really nice to actually be able to fly, but I guess it would depend how fast I could go.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, those
Okay.
are some great action items. And I love the mindset piece of it. I'm a huge advocate of building generational wealth really starts with your mindset. So I'm glad that you
Hmm.
talked about that today. So, Mariah, if our audience wants to get in touch with you, has more questions, or maybe wants to hire you to help them on their money journey, how do they reach you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at Money Coach Mariah, or my website, which is the same, Money Coach Mariah. And I'll be hosting a free training in September. So if you want to connect with me there on Instagram, and I can get you that information.
Awesome. Awesome. I love free training. Always work on education, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for your time today. I am your host, Angela Duncan, another episode of Empower Her Money. Hopefully, you wrote those tips down and you are going to take action and implement right away, because it isn't about just what you're learning, but also about implementation to help you on your money journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you.